Okay. Can you introduce yourself?
Aaron Megan,
And what is your age?
17.
And where do you go to school?
Pioneer High School.
Where do you want to go to college?
SUNY Brockport.
For what major?
Marketing.
And what are your pronouns?
She, her, hers.
Why do you think women are still unequal in work and family issues?
Because we live in a patriarchal society.
Anything else?
No.
How does race, sexuality, class, and other things like this have to do with understanding women's work-related inequality?
Because they might not be able to advance because of their race or sexuality. Or not get paid as much or not even get the job.
Have you made any changes to your decisions of what you wanted to do in the future in regards to you having a family?
Yes, because I don't want to be in school for like 8 years and then waiting to have like a family, whereas like in marketing you only need to be in school for 4 years.
How old do you want to be when you have your first kid, if you want any at all?
Probably like 26 or 27.
And how might this impact your advancement with your career goals?
I don't think it will impact it too much because I will have been in my career for a few years now. So like, yeah.
So nearing the end of your pregnancy and after you give birth, who would you be relying on most for any financial stability?
Hopefully my husband.
Okay. And what do you hope that he'll be doing?
Hopefully like something with science or math.
Can you introduce yourself?
Ann Mangan.
And how old are you?
I'm 42.
What are your pronouns?
Her, she,
Good enough.
hers.
There you go. Where do you work?
University of Buffalo.
And what do you do?
I'm an academic coordinator, kind of like an advisor.
What do you think we can do to overcome women's inequality in the workplace in regards to power and prestige in work?
Power in the workplace. Well, I think that it's already better than it used to be. It's improved, but I think maybe if we start with how we raise our boys, and if boys are seeing women as strong and independent, especially now there's a lot of divorce, so a lot of boys are being raised with single mothers who they are seeing as strong. Maybe this will change things down the line. The older gentlemen seem to have an issue with women being in power and holding them back. So I think if we teach the boys that everyone's equal, then hopefully there won't be this power struggle.
How does race, sexuality, class, and other things like this have to do with understanding women's work-related inequality?
I think it's similar to the problem with just acceptance. Having the younger generation is now becoming way more accepting to differences in people being transgender or different races, or hopefully women just in general. And because of this new acceptance, then hopefully it spreads to the workplace and they won't have the same kind of problems that we're having today. Could start with, like, if you come from a small town, maybe you're not very diverse. If you go to a college that has a lot more diversity, so you're exposed to different types of people, maybe you're friends with them, then you don't hold these harsh judgments against something you don't even know about. I think that'll help in the future with acceptance for everyone.
How old were you when you had your kids?
I was 23 and 25.
And did you have to change your future goals so you could have your family?
Yes. I had to, when I was pregnant with you, I was still in college, so I can't remember if I had a year left or a semester left, but I did my student teaching and I was pregnant, and I had to wait and I took, I think, a year or half a year. I can't remember exactly. I took some time off before I went back and finished my degree. So it definitely played a role there. And then when Erin was born, which is your sister, I ended up working. I was trying to become a teacher, so I wanted to work in elementary education, but because I had 2 little kids, it was hard to pay for daycare, find a job. I was having a hard time finding something stable, so I ended up working at a preschool / daycare until Erin went to kindergarten.
So during this time, did you have a full-time job?
No.
Then I'm assuming you didn't have any paid leave.
No.
Who did you rely on?
Your dad.
Okay. And how did this influence your life? Socially, through work, and through school?
Well, I was young, so I was 23, so when I was pregnant, I was 22. So I wasn't out at bars partying or anything like that because I couldn't. I was pregnant, or then I had a baby. So it definitely played a role in the social aspect. In our friend group, I was probably the second one to have a baby. So there, everyone else was out doing the normal young 20-year-old thing, while I was not. What was the other? Work. Well, I didn't have a full-time job, so I was a waitress at a restaurant. So eventually, I did go back to doing that before Erin came along, and then I ended up at a full-time job at the preschool.
And your school life?
School I took a break, so definitely affected all of that too, yeah.
And how long did it take for you to get your full-time job position?
Well, I was full-time at the preschool, so I would say Erin was 6 weeks old when I got that position, and then I did some, after she ended up going to kindergarten, I had some long-term positions teaching, and then it just was becoming frustrating. At that time, it was hard to get a job. You're up against like 1,000 resumes for one position. So I ended up changing gears, and I ended up at the University of Buffalo doing academic advising, which I think in the long run I like better.
What year did you end up at UB?
2011.
Hi, my name is Hannah Mangan. I'm a political science major with a women and gender studies minor at SUNY Geneseo. I'm 19 years old, and I go by the pronouns she, her, and hers. As I did this project with my mom and my sister, I kind of realized how much I don't really know what I want to do. I have already had a hard time trying to figure out what I want to do after I graduate with my bachelor's degree from Geneseo. So trying to figure out what I want to do in regards to having a family even later in the future makes things even more difficult. As I'm not so sure what I want to do with my degree, my mom has been trying to help me think of ideas, and one thing that she came up with was law school. And even though I don't know if that's what I want to do, going to law school would have a big effect if I decided on having a family or not, as how much time you have to put into law school. Even though I'm unsure if I want to go to law school, I think it's a good option for me to consider, but in a different way, as in I know I will end up being financially successful and I won't have to depend on someone else, but also during that pregnancy I would have to, so I guess it's kind of a trade-off of how I would want to go about it. As I consider what I still want to do, I know that the one thing I do is that if I do have children, I think that I should be able to name them because I'd be the one likely giving birth, and my mom thinks that that's somewhat unrealistic, but I think that if I have to go through that physical toll, I should be able to name them what I would want. In conclusion, being a white woman and with a middle class standing in this time period while going to college is definitely an advantage that I have that other people don't have. So, I mean, I'm aware of my privilege, but I also know that things can be better. To wrap everything up, this has been my small family work project with my mom and my sister, showing 3 different viewpoints from 3 different social standings, one from a 42-year-old, one from a college student, and one from a high school student. So here's my cat, Rue. What are your opinions on women inequality in the workplace? Anything? Okay. And here's my cat, Reed, being spazzy and nervous for the camera, so he's hiding. But what are your opinions on women and gender studies and the women's inequality in the workplace? Do you have anything? Sir? Reed. Okay. Okay, that's it.